What's up, everybody? Let's get it. We got some things to talk about today. I got some astronomically incredible bullishness to talk about of what is coming. Markets are still holding around that 61, 62,000 level for Bitcoin. Altcoins, there's some key altcoins starting to rip, and I got some things to share with you all. So let's absolutely get it together, everybody. Getting started here in just a moment. We came out of one of the hardest bear market cycles ever over the last year. December 2022, we started back into this bull trend in January of early 2023. I'm curious, how many of you guys stacked in? At what point did you find the confidence to start stacking back in this bull trend? If it's only recently, that's okay. If it's down at 15.5 when Bitcoin is around that level, that's okay too. Let's see where you guys scale back into the market, because we are not even prepared for how high all this is going to go. I'm just happy all of us are here together. We're in here doing this as a family, and I cannot wait to break down these charts for you and this data that I have set up today. Let's absolutely get it. Alexandra G with the best comment yet. She said, was always stacking. That's right. Zachary Martin, always stacking. That's right. Sawtooth Hiker, great one. Stacked in at 19.6. That's what I'm talking about right there. Well, guys and gals, friends and countrymen, we're about to dive into these charts. We're about to talk about some pretty amazing things. So hit that like button. We're going to be getting going here in just a moment. If you're ready to get this stream started, everybody throw a 1 in chat, throw an emoji in chat, throw a lab coat in chat. Let's absolutely rock it. We got some magic to talk about. What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good night. The markets are still absolutely ripping to the upside. Yes. Is Bitcoin holding still at this level? Yes, but it's still consolidating in a very bullish range. We're going to be talking about what this means about a potential pullback, potential, absolute new bullish impulse to the upside, but we are looking too small. We are looking at these 4-hour time frames. This is a 6-hour. We're looking at this 15-minute. We're looking at all this stuff, not realizing that we have so much bigger things at play in terms of how far this can go. We have some magic that we're going to be talking about in today's episode. We're going to be talking about why $100,000. We think about, it's like we have a grudge against $100,000 based on the last cycle, us not reaching it. And I'm here to let you know. $100,000 is just when things truly start to get started in this market. $100,000 is going to be the penultimate #1 best promotional tool we've ever had in Bitcoin and crypto. And that is every news station on the planet talking about it. That is every person that's involved with this, just having their lives starting to be changed if they're not changed already. We're also going to start seeing, because of that new flood of retail. If it doesn't happen before that, when we break the previous all-time high at $69,000, $68,000, $100,000 is going to put everybody in the world, every institution, every balance sheet is going to realize if you don't have Bitcoin, you are living in the past and you are not allowing yourself to participate in the future. And we have a lot to talk about here. So before we dive in here, everybody's rolling in. Hit that like button if you like Bitcoin. Hit that subscribe button if you want to make sure that you're in the know on tools and resources and what's going on in this crypto community and being a part of an empowering space here at BitLab Academy. And you know what? If you don't know who I am, my name's Kelly Kellum. Welcome to the BitLab community. We got to talk about some things today, so let's talk about it. We're going to dive right on into it. We're going to get into a lot of TA at the end. Before we do that, let's talk about some of these things we need to talk about. First things first, if you're not following the BitLab Academy page, what are you doing? Follow us at Academy BitLab. We're doing a giveaway today based on the stream that we did with bull signals earlier this week. But we always draw those names from people who come and support. Hit that retweet, hit that like button. Now, let's talk about what we want to talk about, though. First things first, we have to remind ourselves where we're at in relationship to previous cycles and what may be to come. Here we go. Here's from Pierre Rochard. I showed different types of charts that illustrate a similar thing that we've seen over and over because we have to get it through our head where we're at and what we're coming into. This is where we're at, of course, but let's go back and look at over here. This is this magic line that we are looking to come into in April when the halving occurs, a reduction by half, a halving. That's why it's called that, of the amount of new Bitcoin that's available each day. Supply shock. This does not even account for all the ETF money that is flowing in and only going to be increasing in the near future. This is this magic area right here where we see the true parabola on Bitcoin truly start to explode. And we can see this is where we're at. Yes, it is March of 2024. We're at 61,700 region. Back in 2016, when we're at the same spot in relationship to the halving, we were only at 658. Back in May of 2020, after this very scary washout to the downside that ended up being one of the best opportunities in history of Bitcoin right here, this washout to the downside, quick V-shaped recovery, and we are at just shy of $9,000. Going into the previous bull run, this right here would equate to this right here. This mark would have been right here, $9,000 before we moved up to 64, sell off, and then up to $69,000. Know this chart. Otherwise, you are going to be emotionally destroyed, not understanding what's going on in this market. Now, I've got some magic to show you about the trillions, not 5 trillion, not 10 trillion, not 30 trillion, not 50 trillion, not 100 trillion. There's so much more money that we can even comprehend that's on the sideline that is very soon not only going to be put on notice, but start really having some sort of allocation, interest at minimum, but allocations of this money that's on the sideline coming into Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and look at a couple other things. Here is the Bitcoin market, basically outlined by Plan B, who does the stock to flow model as well as many other things. But he outlines here, looking at this chart, what we're at, what we're doing in the type of activity on chain and what's going on with the market, where we're at. We just printed the first red dot. Look at back here. Look at the first red dot in all previous cycles. This is marked, yes, somewhat middle of this uptrend. There was already an uptrend before this, but this is when we start to see things get very spicy. This is when things start to be like, I cannot comprehend, because I remember back in 2020. I remember when we had the run up into 2021 and it went from 9,000 to 12,000 to 18,000, little sell off, and then up to 30,000. And could it go higher up to 60,000? And we cannot comprehend the levels and what type of price action we're going to see on Bitcoin, because we still compare it. Even me being involved with Bitcoin, we have a propensity to compare it to assets that we've known our entire life, like a failing fiat system that's printed to infinity, or stocks that are reliant on what's going on with the business and also the available stock shares. Bitcoin has a limited supply, and the new Bitcoin that's created each day to get to that max supply is reduced by half every 4 years, roughly every 210,000 blocks. This is what's driving this, as well as it being the best asset in history. And we just printed a red dot. Now, coming on here, Yes, we all want to talk about altcoins as well, and all this altcoin market based on previous cycles. We are just now starting to enter some form of the alt season, and this is going to go parabolic as well. And we're going to talk about a lot of alts here in a little bit. But what we need to do when we're looking at this price and we get down here on the 2-hour time frame, we say, oh man, oh, it got to 64. This is so boring. Is it not exciting that Bitcoin is being able to hold, even with this washout, with a large rise very quickly up to 64,000, and then a quick washout on the same 2-hour candle down to 57, and then back up at equilibrium? Could we get a pullback? We absolutely could, and you know what? We should. But the pullbacks do not discount the fact that this price, the price of Bitcoin, is going to absolutely blow people away. Now, why is this? Why is Bitcoin 100K? Why is that important? 100K is going to mark, as I said, the biggest promotional scenario that we've ever seen in an asset class. This is new to some people that are just becoming aware of this, but it's also something that has now been proven over the last 15 years. And we're getting the stamp of approval of the biggest asset managers on earth. In fact, Vanguard, which is one of the best asset managers on earth, just basically, let's not call it a forced retirement, but it's pretty funny that the CEO now is going to be stepping aside. And this is the CEO that said, as long as I'm CEO, we will never have Bitcoin as any of our financial products or on any of our balance sheets when I'm a CEO of Vanguard. And now we see how good the ETFs are doing, the flow of tens of thousands of Bitcoin a week going into these ETFs. Meaning this buying pressure, multi-$100 million in buying pressure on a daily basis. And yet, currently, right now, only 900 a day new Bitcoin produced. After April, it's only going to be 450 new Bitcoin a day. And yet, at the same time, we have record low OTC, which is the Bitcoin that is available over the counter. It's not on exchange. So this supply shock is not only real, it is being seen in the price action right now, which is why when you look at this chart and you zoom out on this on the 3-day, you can see this basically steady move with a lot of chop along the way, 20%, 20%, 20%. But then here, ETF speculation, a little bit of sell-off, and then we've gone parabolic up into roughly right about this previous range all-time high. Why is this? Now, isn't the price high? Isn't the price too high? It's too late to get in. When you understand that this has a fixed supply, you realize this is not anything to be scared about. This is something that shows the power of having these new capital inroads, these new capital flows coming in. Now, here is what is exciting. Everybody right now, hit the like button, subscribe, and join us in this community because I'm about to drop some sauce on you. And that is what is to come. The data that shows we don't even know what's possible for this price. We don't know if 100's high. We don't know if 200's high. We don't know if a million's high. But let's see what the data says these capital inroads are going to look like here in the coming weeks, years, and decades to come, because we are still so early. And if you're not bullish, then you must be blind or you must be completely ignoring the data out here. Let's not compare this to the dollar. Let's not compare this to Berkshire Hathaway or Nvidia or Amazon. It's its own asset that can act as a currency and a store of value, as well as offer freedom to people around the world. Now let's talk about what this data is. We're coming over here to this right here. Let's come 1 second right here. So first thing we want to talk about is RIAs. RIAs are registered investment advisors. Now, why is that important? Because we just had these ETFs launch, and it feels like, how could it get any better? We're getting tens of thousands of Bitcoin a week being bought up. In some cases, days. We had 11,000 Bitcoin bought, I think it was yesterday or the day before. 1 day of these ETFs, right? Now, with that being said, this is without the registered investment advisors, the investment advisors that talk to private clients, that talk to retail, mom and pop, friends, countrymen, all of us regular folk. So all this money coming in, large in part, can essentially be assumed that it's large in part institutions getting ahead of the curve, even though they're so far behind you and I. Anybody that's getting in right now, you're still getting in ahead of the 95% of the world and institutions. Yes, $64,000, $62,000, even $100,000 feels high. But what I'm about to show you is going to show we have no idea what's about to happen or on the time frame or scale that it's going to happen. All I know is that this asset is becoming more scarce. More long-term holders or more Bitcoin is being held by long-term holders, meaning they're not willing to sell than ever before leading into this. Retail is not yet here. Institutions only on the forefront of wanting to stay ahead of the curve are getting these institutional flows, getting exposure to Bitcoin. And we're going to see sovereign wealth funds. We're going to see governments. We're going to see, we haven't seen anything yet. And we haven't even in all of this addressed the RIAs. And this is what I want to talk about. The RIAs, registered investment advisors. The registered investment advisors' assets under management grew to $128 trillion in 2021. And they have not yet been pushing this asset, this product, this ETP, this electronically traded product, this ETF, these Bitcoin spot ETFs, as well as you may feel like you're educated on it, and it's all around, everybody knows about it. This is still so new. I talk to people all the time that don't know a thing about Bitcoin other than what Jim Cramer said or what Elizabeth Warren said. This is still so new, not only on that factor, but even if it has nothing to do with that, take Bitcoin as itself outside of this. Just think there's a new financial product out there that investment advisors can push to their clientele. Well, they tend to wait on average, tend to wait more than 90 days or so that product can show that it is it has some sort of consistent track record, that it has appetite, which, let's be honest, the $10 billion plus in assets that BlackRock alone has accumulated from this ETF is showing that, yes, there's appetite, and we can see that this isn't going anywhere. So these RIAs are educating themselves right now, and a large majority of them still don't even have any idea what this asset really is. And there's $128 trillion in capital on the sidelines that has not yet been exposed to even the first call from their advisor saying, hey, you should maybe look at getting a 1% or a 2% allocation. That's what we need to realize here. 1% of this is $1.28 trillion. Any percentage higher than that obviously gets exponentially higher. Now here, if we look at this, advisor firms, blah, 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 blah. So according to a breakdown by assets under management, CapTrust emerged as the leading registered investment advisor in the U.S. So CapTrust is the largest RIA in the U.S., and they have $655 billion in assets in 2021. So we're seeing there's so much money on the sidelines, and this is where it gets interesting. Caleb Franzen here says, RIAs and advisors still view Bitcoin as a career risk. So we're seeing these institutions now getting in ahead of the majority of the world, other than you, other than I, other than our people in our community here in crypto that have been touting this as an asset for the last 15 years. We are ahead of the curve. And the fact that we have the $100 trillion plus pool sitting there with the people just starting to become aware of this in a real way because traditional asset advisors like BlackRock, like all these ETFs, Fidelity just suggested that people have between a 1% and 3% allocation in all of their assets for Bitcoin. And this is going to be a story that continues growing. So when we see that RIAs are still looking at Bitcoin as a career risk, Bitcoin is such a foreign concept to the majority of investors, particularly those over 50 plus. This is going to be key in a moment. I'm going to show you a whole nother bunch of money pool that we're going to talk about from this here in a moment, particularly in those over 50 plus years old with a lot of wealth. So advisors don't want to buy the spot ETFs and get egg on their face if they're wrong. Well, this is going to be changing very quick. So on top of that, many TradFi banks and firms aren't allowing clients to get access to the ETFs and are now starting to make announcements about eligibility. So the winds are starting to shift a little bit, and it's not going to be immediate, but we're going to see this buying pressure scale over time. And the question is, are we ever going to have a bear market that gets that 60, 70, 80% drawdown again when we have all these pools of money on the sideline and an awareness growing in ways that we can't even comprehend, let alone plan for, other than buying and having the capacity to hold through the stormy times in this asset, because it's only going to get better. Now, if we continue on with this, so we're talking about this, people over 50. Now, come on over here. We can, actually, it's going to come back to that in a second. Let's talk about the U.S. alone. There's over 24.5 million millionaires in the U.S. That's just the U.S. Now, when we go on globally, we can see that there's over 62 million millionaires globally. There's not even enough Bitcoin for the millionaires in the US to have one Bitcoin, let alone the world over. So we're getting into this fractional holding that's going to be impressive in the future. 0.1 Bitcoin in 15 years is going to blow people's mind. How do you own 0.1 Bitcoin? Because we're seeing that the appetite and the availability is something that these asset managers, as well as retail, do not, and even most institutions still can't comprehend. Why can't they comprehend it? Because every monetary system in history and every asset in history has been about, how can I scrape off some of that for me, take it from you? All the middlemen involved, all these different factors. You always feel like you're playing or dealing with some grifter. Bitcoin is agnostic to all of that bullshit. And I had to say it that way because that's the truth. People do not even trust yet that there can be an asset that can stand alone like this does, for the sake of freedom itself, for your financial sovereignty. Now, coming back to the screen, man, I am fired up today because I'm so excited about what's coming. Now, let's look at this. Ultra high net worth. This is just to people with over 30 million or more. Many of these 100 millionaires, billionaires. There's $45 trillion being held by these people, and there's roughly 400,000 people back in 2022. This alone, I mean, this is for them to, are they going to buy one Bitcoin when they buy? An ultra wealthy person, they're just going to get an asset, get one $60,000 asset? No, when these people start scaling in, and it's going to become a competitive race. Once they start scaling in, they're going to be putting in, 1%, 3%, and 1% of somebody that has $1 billion or $10 billion. Michael Saylor said it best. All those financial models people are worried about within Bitcoin, we cannot comprehend what it's going to mean if you have 10 billionaires all put in a 10% allocation. That would already put price into something that you cannot even comprehend. Now, coming back over to here, we're seeing the availability of capital on the sidelines. The RIA, the investment advisors with access to over $128 trillion that has not even started to broadcast the opportunity that lies here. Okay. Now we look over here, then we talk about that 50 plus. There's $68 trillion. That's part of this potential, or this great wealth transfer that is going to happen. Why is this going to happen? Because death is guaranteed. We all live, we all pay taxes, and we all die. So there's $68 trillion. That's basically right here. If you see, over the next decade, women in the U.S. will capture a significant share of the money changing hands as a part of the greatest generational wealth transfer. Bravo to the females. I'm glad for that. But experts weigh on how to maximize blah, blah, blah. It's going to be Bitcoin. But the point here is that there's $68 trillion that is this the baby boomer generation, our parents, my parent age, once so that wealth starts transferring in their deaths, there's going to be a huge opportunity for getting at least some allocations into a different type, a new type, a future type of asset. So 128 trillion supported by also this 68 trillion. And this will obviously be very tied into that 128 trillion we talked about before. But this is showing that that money is going to be moving. It has to move at some point in the near future. And people are going to be asking, well, what do I do with it now? And this is going to be on that time frame over the next 10 years as this progressively happens. This new asset is going to be something that they're going to be pushing, because financial investment advisors, they look for new ways to make money. And as people become aware of this asset, it's only going to make things better. Now we come over here. This is what I was talking about. This is from Dr. Jeff Ross. He said, fiat brains cannot even begin to fathom the reality that Bitcoin is repricing the world. What does this mean? Over the last 15 years, the only asset that you can hold where life gets cheaper is Bitcoin. What once was spending 10,000 Bitcoin to get a pizza, now you can spend a Bitcoin to get 10,000 or more pizzas, right? It's flipping because the value of Bitcoin against the dollar is going up because the supply of it is so limited, and the framework for which this protocol was built is for the strength of each individual, not for a particular corporation. This is as bullish as we can get. We need to realize this, and we need to be patient with friends and families when they can't. It takes them several times of hearing several different facts to really get their brain around this. Now, if we come over here, we see IBIT, the newest member of the 10 billion club. This is what I was just talking about. Fastest ever to get there. Only 152 ETFs. This is all traditional ETFs, not crypto. This is everything out there. There's traditional assets. There's only 152 out of 3,400 that have got to $10 billion. And this has happened in the span of a month and a half, January 10th to now. The appetite is there. This goes back to what we were talking about here when we were talking about the RIAs. These data points are going to become very visible and aware to all these investment advisors. This data cannot be ignored. Just in, Tim Buckley, this is what I was talking about the Vanguard stepping down. Kind of forced into retirement, if you ask me, because he said he would not participate in any way with the Bitcoin ETF. You're ignoring the best financial instrument in history. You come right here. We also see the Bitcoin paradigm shift is here, I wrote this morning. Gold is down and crypto is up. Now, of course, this correlation will ebb and flow, but when we see this, this is a snippet out of a report from Bank of America. Crypto assets also saw a notable increase with 2.4 billion inflows, while gold experienced outflows of 500 million. According to Bank of America, year to date, cash inflows are on track to reach an unprecedented $1.4 trillion, matching previous record highs. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This talks about building for the future and investment interest. Crypto funds have already surpassed the inflow peak of 2021, with year-to-date inflows hitting 7.7 billion, compared to the 5.2 billion during the crypto bubble. So we are on pace to break all records. And then you see right here, we're talking about gold before. The Bitcoin ETFs are catching up to the gold ETFs already. And this was a few days ago. After 31 days of trading, this has already eaten up nearly half, a little, about, it says 30-something%, but it's a little, almost half of what the gold ETFs are. Then we come over here, gold's pain, and I don't think gold's going to go away, but the interest definitely right now is on Bitcoin. Gold's pain is Bitcoin ETF's gain in store of value smackdown. New from me on how gold being in the gutter is like the cherry on top for Bitcoin fans who just got to witness the biggest ETF launch ever. Decent chance Bitcoin ETFs pass gold ETFs in assets under management in less than 2 years. That's the sort of projection right now. So this is major. This is a major shift that's happening right now, right before our eyes. Here we go again with IBIT. They're over $10 billion. We come right here. This is what I was talking about with the over-the-counter. This is where all these ETFs are buying from. Buying, essentially, think of it like Costco. They're buying in bulk so it doesn't create slippage on the exchange when they're buying, 5 million, 100 million, $1 billion, $2 billion a day worth of Bitcoin. That would send price up on one order like that if it was on market. So what happens if this gets completely depleted? Will it ever get completely depleted? What we're seeing, though, is that this is showing the metric of look at how sharp this has moved down since the ETF speculation here into the launch. This has gone down precipitously. Supply shock, welcome to the show, because we also have a reduction in supply in only a couple of days. And then we were talking about retail, $100,000. We're wondering what happens there. Do we get a sell-off? Maybe we do. But what it marks is the fact that right now we're at $62,000, $63,000 in that region. But we haven't even seen, I shared this about a few days ago, we have not even seen the retail enter the market yet at this level. This means, with this still low, this means that people have not decided to take, large in part, have decided to remain a long-term holder and not sell and take profits. If a long-term holder sells, then a short-term holder is buying that until they hold past 155 days. So what this is showing is that the reason why we haven't gotten the sell-off yet is that nobody's willing to sell. This is a different paradigm than we've seen any pre-halving cycle, with this getting higher sell-off, higher sell-off, higher sell-off. This is still roughly about the lows of this entire period back here from all of 2022. This is beautiful. So when Bitcoin does hit that $100,000 mark, and this is what we look at on this chart, this is what it's going to look like. This is at a 2017 peak at $20,000. This is the 64, this is the 69. This is what it's going to look like on scale. Why is it so small, you ask? Because we are imagining as this parabola starts pushing up very high, this is going to look very similar to when we look at Bitcoin. Let's say, let's go out to the weekly chart and we go like this. You see how, let's go on, there we go. Okay, so you see how small this $20,000 move is back here? This is the 3,000 to 14,000. Now look at this move back here. Look at how small, there were hundreds, thousands of % gains back here, but the market has expanded so large that this looks like peanuts. And so when we come back over to this chart, come back over to this chart, this is what this is going to look like when the price is, and it could happen over 5 years. It could happen over 15 years. But the point is, based on the supply and demand principles of markets and the fact that these capital inroads just came on, we are going to see this scenario sometime in the very near future when the price action is so high that these previous pumps look like chump change. Does this not excite you? This gives me the confidence that, okay, if we get a 15% move and I wasn't prepared to take that trade, who gives a hell? We see where this is going. Everything that I'm doing right now, even the altcoins that I'm holding, everything I'm doing is in service to trying to figure out how I can stack more Bitcoin so I can ride this wave. And I hope all of you are too. Now, I love altcoins, but I'm looking at altcoins like, let me ride this cycle, take profit, and all of it's going into Bitcoin. I'm not looking at like, maybe Ethereum, I'll hold it, for a good period of time, but every other altcoin, no. Chainlink, maybe, but Bitcoin is the focus. Altcoins are for me to harvest capital to put into Bitcoin, essentially is what I'm saying. Now, this is where we're at right now. It's happening. The largest green candle in the history of Bitcoin price increase. This is over $19,000 increase. And we see we are coming up essentially right at where these previous all-time high regions were. In fact, the candle body was right about where these previous range highs were. And this feels so astronomical. Could we actually have expansion from here? Meaning, you see these candles, small, larger, larger. Can we have a larger candle after this? Absolutely, we can. We talked about what's going on with Michael Saylor and being seen with Jeff Bezos. Of course, that could be, that could be a little bit of a speculation. But Jeff Bezos did just sell $8.5 billion worth of Amazon. And anybody that understands markets and the economics of money, which I would assume that Jeff Bezos does because he runs a multi-trillion-dollar, he founded a multi-trillion-dollar business, Amazon. What's the best store of value right now? I can't. So whether or not it's going to happen soon, meaning in the next week or over the next 3 years, we are going to see Apple involved. We are going to see Walmart involved. We are going to see Jeff Bezos involved. We are going to see a flood of capital in a way that we cannot even comprehend because there's never been an asset like this in history. So when we hit $100,000 on Bitcoin in US dollar value, what does that mean? Is that going to be a top? No. When we hit $100,000 and actually break through it, find any support above that level, there is going to be, following that period of time, there's going to be the biggest flood of new adopters, AKA new retail money coming into the space, as well as institutions. It's going to be the signal of all signals to the world of really exponentially growing and getting that exponential growth curve of adoption that comes into Bitcoin when we, I mean, are you not Are you not entertained right now? I'm so excited about all this. And with that being said, I hope that if you like any of this content, you would hit that like button, subscribe, and join us in here, and ding the bell. Join us in the BitLab community. We break all this stuff down in the bitlabacademy.com area with our courses in our Discord. I provided calls actually 2 weeks ago. Let me come on here. Let me just show you what's going on in our BitLab Discord. I shared all of these calls, and I didn't set this up. These were the top gainers. When I looked this morning, 2 weeks ago, this week, at the beginning of this week, we talked about Aerodrome, but all of these other calls we made about 2 weeks ago in the BitLab, private BitLab member stream in Discord. And every one of these happened to be also the top gainer this morning when I was looking at stuff. We want to make sure that we keep you guys in the know, give you the tools, give you the resources, let you know what things we're looking at. I'm even sharing the portfolio, the altcoin portfolio I'm stacking, and I hope all of you can get in there. And by the way, on that note, we are still I kicked it back on the little promo we have. I kicked it back on because the market's so exciting right now. Head over to lab.bitlabacademy.com/Josh, and I'll pin it in here. Sign up for a 30-day free here. There you go. And there, I'm going to pin it in the top of the comment section. Again, that's lab.bitlabacademy.com/Josh. I just put it in the live chat there, and you can head there and sign up for that until we turn this page off again. But I think it's time right now for me to tell you how much I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for watching this video. Share this video with your friends and family. Let them know what's going on with the asset that's before them. And with that, all I can ask is that you keep your mind humble and you keep vigilant about the opportunity that's in front of us, and do not miss this opportunity. That's what I can say to you. But I think it's time for us to talk about some TA. I wanted to break all that down. If you want to see some TA on some assets, let me know in the charts. In the chat, throw a 1 in there if you're tired of hearing all this super bullishness about where this market can go. 200, 300, 400, 2 million. Let's look at where it's going right now. I think it's time. Let's do it. Yes. Ooh, where's it at? Boom. All right. There's a macro view. Let's get it back on the micro and see what the hell is going on with the price action going on right now. Let's get down to the 2 hour. I see you guys. I see you members in here. I see all the new faces and new names in here as well. If you are new, let me know you're new in chat. We'll all welcome you with a great, wonderful, warm welcome. So here we go. Let's zoom out on this a little bit. We have the 2 hour chart. I'm going to delete this Fibonacci just so we can see what's going on. Yeah. So here we go. This was this move that we talked about, and I shared this on my Twitter. By the way, if you're not following me, give me a follow. It's right here at Kelly Kellum, KELLYKELLAM. I spell it out because there's a lot of fake profiles out there. Make sure you're following the correct one on here. Now, when we come over here, I shared this chart when this was setting up here for a potential bull flag. And this is exactly, it's come just shy of the target. Essentially, when you come just shy of a target like that, you can call that target closed, right? But what we've done in the process is now we're forming a bit of a bull pennant, and we can draw this a couple different ways. We can draw this also like this, option T, get a bit of a bull flag right in here. So are we going to see the price action from here launch to the upside? Now I do want to say, let me come back real quick, one moment. There is a member stream going on in the Discord. I believe let me see the time here. It's going on in 5 minutes in the BitLab Discord. If you come up here and click on right here at events, click here, hit that interested level, join. Alex Green, who's one of my favorite people in the crypto space, one of the people here on our team, is going to be breaking down some great things in terms of strategy and navigating this market. So get in there. I'm going to try and end this stream somewhat soon so I can hop in there with you guys. So if you want to see what it's all about, use that link I told you about, lab.bitlabacademy.com/Josh. It's also in the very top of the pinned comments in the chat section. Sign up for free right now. You'll get access to the Discord. Make sure you check your confirmation email. Join the Discord. After you join the Discord, on that confirmation email, add your name, and it auto does all your stuff. You just have to make sure that you're not we have to do a security check, make sure you're not a bot. and all that kind of stuff. So go through that process and you should get access. And if you have any issues, email me at help@bitlabacademy.com. So let's do a little bit of breakdown here. So we have the bull flag right here. The target up here is all the way up here at $79,000. British HODL yesterday was talking about adjusted for inflation in regards to all this money printing. It would argue that the actual all-time high could be assumed to be somewhere up here about $79,000. So interestingly, this would feel like breaking past this region here would feel like we're breaking new all-time highs, and we are. But when you think about the monetary power behind Bitcoin and the devaluation of it, we also need to watch this target up here. And it's interesting that that area, and we could do a little box up there. It's interesting that target on this bull flag goes directly to that $79,000 level. Now we're going to go straight up there. But when we look at this, we're on the, let's go to the 4 hour. On the 4 hour, we're getting a little bit of a decline in volume, which is kind of expected when you're consolidating in a range. This is what I like. We have positive money flow. This is on the BitLab trading stack. We see a positive money flow and it's not diminishing. Check. Bullish. Stochastics came down and fully reset. Down here under 20. We're looking at the percentage on the right. As you move your mouse, you see how you can see the different call. Put my mouse down there. It's at basically 16%. Great. So it's come down just like it did back here before the other big run up. Now we see the RSI did also reset in a good way, but now we have a reset on the RSI where instead of coming all the way down to 33%, it came down. Where did this bounce? Look at this, option J. It bounced right above the 50 line. So there's some bullishness brewing here for an opportunity, likely for another move to the upside. I can't forget that this is on the lower side of this support region though. So if this cannot clear, option F from the top to the bottom, and look at this. This price action came up into the golden pocket once, rejected. Came up just shy of the golden pocket again, rejected. Flushed all the way through the golden pocket, rejected all the way back down. And so if we cannot get through this level on this next go, there's a strong likelihood we'll actually take a spill to the downside. And I'll be looking at this area right here, which is the 382 fib of this full move right here. See this 382? I don't know if you can see it because it's in there. There you go. See 382? This is the area I'd be watching for a potential liquidity flush out to the downside and then launch to the upside. If we lose this, then I'm looking at a couple levels. One is down here at 52.8, which is 53,000 essentially, this previous range high. But we still have this golden pocket right here to contend with before that happens. Things are looking bullish. It's leaning bullish. I'm just pointing out that we have targets to the downside if that does happen, so you are prepared. We do have a target all the way up here at $79,000 though. Now on that note, we do also have the 64, which is a previous initial all-time high, right? Then we sold off from the Chinese mining ban. The price rallied back up to 69. So this region right here is going to be, this area is going to be interesting. Copy, paste. And then right up in here in about right here, roughly about right here is the previous all-time high. But we have this order block that we're well within right here. So there's a lot of liquidity interest. And the fact that we may break a previous all-time high, there's going to be a lot of liquidation interest around this level. Now, some of you don't have high block. Some of you don't have signals and all these other things that we talk about in terms of liquidations. Now, let's come back over here. I just want to go to, I'm going to show you something. If you don't have something, there's plenty of free tools. So we can come up here on Twitter, high block. And let's see. Okay, this is 19 hours ago. Current liquidation heat maps for Bitcoin and ETH. Oh, wow. I can pull it. I can find things for free. Yeah, you just got to be ambitiously curious. You can find the data you need, whether or not you can afford to pay for the professional tools. So look at this. This is ETH, 7 day. We're going to actually go over to Bitcoin. Bitcoin, 7 days. So the price action pushed up. This is that wick that we had up to 64 and then the washout back down. So as this is coming across, we're seeing a lot of interest to the downside, which, remember, as bullish as things are, there's an opportunity for it to push price lower to basically suck up that liquidity and then launch, basically a spring to the upside. On the same time frame, though, at the $65,000 level, we see we also have some liquidation zones directly at that level, which is essentially makes sense, because as price action moves up here, you'd be testing this current region high here. I almost said all-time high. This previous regional high, and there's going to be some stop losses in here from people taking shorts at this level. So we're going to have to see what this, if the ETF data keeps astounding people. And remember, yesterday we had like $600 million in Bitcoin sold from GBTC. Likely it had something to do with the Gemini bankruptcy, or Galaxy Gemini, I can't remember, one of the G's, the 1 point something billion that they had to clear out. But the price has been holding above 60 with that huge sell-off. In fact, we were net positive yesterday on the ETF flows. So the point being right now, things are feeling very exciting, but because of this volatility that has expanded, there's an opportunity for price action to move in both directions and completely wreck people. So I'd be looking for buys right now on moves to the downside. I would not be trying to short this region. And so on that note, let's go ahead and look at a couple altcoins, then we got to roll, because we got to, that's not what I want to look at. We are on the alt. Okay. So Ethereum pushing up right into the zone. And now we're finding a little bit of support above this 382 of this move. Okay. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. You can see the wick kind of came down right into the 382 kind of region. Now on this zone, option F from the top to the bottom, look at this price action also, just like Bitcoin came into the golden pocket. Things are trying to decide which direction to go. Now, if we see, we do have a bit of a trend line right in here. If we sort of lose this area, I expect us to come down and actually fully test this 3,200 and potentially come down here. But I'm leaning more bullish. I am just aware of these. I think this is kind of flushing some people out. Maybe we get a wick down and then basically come back up and test in this region. We'll have to see if we can clear past this $3,500 region, or if we just mark slightly short and trade sideways or create an in pattern. But things are looking bullish, but they're looking a little uncertainly bullish right now. There's a little bit of work that needs to be done from all this huge amount of movement we had to the upside. We also see Solana rocketing to the upside on this 4-hour chart. I mean, things, Dogecoin pushing up, a little bit of a sell-off. What percentage was that? Look at that, 14% sell-off, and then a move right back up into this zone. Now, Cardano, we're kind of in this broadening wedge, found support, pushing up. We're trying to get through this region. There's a little bit of hesitation there, though, because if Bitcoin has a huge sell-off and breaks down and loses 57 and goes test 53, it's going to cause some havoc in the altcoin market. It's likely going to see prices come back, and on Cardano, it would likely come back, test minimum of 62, and likely come down here into this 59 range. So things are bullish, and they're kind of like, okay, if Bitcoin holds at this level, 60 to 63, and is chopping sideways in that area, that will cause as a capital distribution area to where we may see altcoins continue to rise. Now, if we see Bitcoin sell off, we'll probably see the market have a general pullback. So things are feeling good. Link, kind of, we had a downward channel here that's progressed into this upward channel here. So very similar to what we were just talking about with Cardano. If we come down to some of those big gainers, where's AERO? AERO just absolutely ripped it since we told you guys about it. I got in sort of mid-move. This is where I got in here. This is also the same day I told you guys about it. And price action since then, this may not look like a lot, but since then, that is a 113, 114% move. In fact, if we come over to the altcoin portfolio, if we come up here to biggest gains, Aerodrome's already, and we had the smallest allocation of this. This one had the smallest allocation out of all the coins. And it's now 1, 2, 3, fourth one in terms of how much gains it has produced since we got it. And we've only had it for under a week. Now, of course, this could sell off a bit, whatever, but great community, tied in with Coinbase, the large two times the TVL than every other DEX combined. And people are basically were not even aware of this until now. So we got to talk about that. Render also performing quite well too. If we look at just in size, that's actually not what we want to do here. Boom. Not what I want to do either. Holdings. Yeah. Something like that. things are performing. The only one that hadn't performed on here is TIA. Every other one of these since we bought it has been up. TIA is the only thing. And remember, I told you all when we were looking at this on the chart, I really wanted to get it. I realized it's because I was tuned into the narrative. The narrative was very bullish on it, which means that it's probably already run its course on that huge impulse cycle. Because when we look at this on the 3-day chart, what does this look like? This looks like huge expansion into slowing down. And so when we got it here, it was one of the smallest allocations we got. And people were like, why did you get so little of it? Because this looked like it needed to cool off a bit. So let's let it cool off a bit, potentially test lower into this order block range down in the 12 to 14 range. Potential great opportunity if this does dip into there to then take that spring to the next level. On Aerodrome, let's go back there because I didn't do the TA on it. And then we're going to have to run. And we have to look at GRT. Let's look at GRT first. GRT, so many lines on here. I don't know which chart this is. All right. Head and shoulders, kind of double bottom either way. Higher low here. Cup and handle right here. Boom. The target on this right here alone would be up here directly to this line, 50 cents all the way here, which would represent another massive gain from all the way up there. That'd be 150% gain from where we're at right now, would represent about another 55 to 60% gain. We just saw on the 3-day, the money flow just flipped positive. It does look like it's getting a little overheated at the moment though. On the 4-hour, we do have a rising wedge. That's why you look at multiple time frames. We do have a rising wedge. It did fall out of. Hopefully that was the only breakdown point if we want to be really bullish, but it fell out of. It's back inside now. So let's watch here if it's able to push out up into here, find some support, and then go. The money flow went negative for a second, but it's trying to flip back positive. Aerodrome, where are you at? Aerodrome. Is it there? I know, there it is, boom. So this has been ripping. Rising channel, just bullishness, somewhat bearish project, but just his rip to the upside. That's why I said just bullishness. It's riding that Coinbase narrative from them investing all that money in it. Now this is looking like it may want to cool off for a little bit, but let's pay attention because this has it's almost like a meme coin in terms of behavior because it has such a small market cap. You come over here, you type in, let's just go to 24, Aerodrome, boom. It's still, I think it's under 100 million. Yeah, so it was $30 million market cap the other day, 80 million now. Very easy to move this around. So there's a lot of things going on in the market right now. Things are feeling bullish. Things are feeling exciting. These coins that we're sharing with you all, and not all of them are going to work. Some may completely fail, but we're sharing the coins that are bringing our interest in the BitLab Discord for those member streams, trying to teach you different things that are going on with strategy. Make sure you go through the different course content we have if you are a BitLab member at the bitlabacademy.com. You can use that link. It's up at the very top of the live chat there. Again, I'll leave that promo open through the weekend. That is lab.bitlabacademy.com. Let me go here like this. We can see, I'll just show it to you. lab.bitlabacademy.com/Josh. Just like that. Type that in. Oh, you can't see it. lab.bitlabacademy.com/Josh. And the link is in the top of the chat there. Get involved there. You can utilize it 30 days free for the Discord, but you also have immediately the option to upgrade and get the access to all the courses as well as the indicators and everything we use at the best bundle price we've ever got. So I love you guys. Thank you for the gifted memberships, Falco. Let me make sure I didn't miss any super chats because I was talking today. I was getting the vibes. Shout out to the members. Thank you for everybody that when you super chat. Thank you for all you being members. We had some pretty rough times from November through we're still pulling ourselves out of it from a lot of the shakeup happened, and I don't want to go into all of it. So every bit that you guys have done has kept us floating along, and I couldn't be more excited about where we're all going as a community. I love you all. I appreciate you all more than I can even really identify. And I hope you all see life-changing gains and improvements outside of crypto too, and how we communicate with family and friends and our life, because it's more than just these numbers on our chart. It's more than having a huge stack of some coins. It's what can we do with it to help our friends, our family, our life, our neighbors? What can we do to be better people? And capital and assets are only one mechanism of that. But since we're focused on that here at BitLab Academy, we cannot forget the call for all of us to be better people in the real world. With that, that's all I got. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful weekend. I love you all. I appreciate you. Let's do it together. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always tuning in. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for being here. Hope we all break past 100K and just stay some good ass friends. Love you guys. Hit that like button, sucker.